Hello. In this video, we're going to be discussing the white grape varietal Sylvaner, and in particular, Sylvaner from both Franken, Germany and Alsace, France. We are Teakwood Tavern Hospitality. We are a beverage catering and consulting company in DFW, Texas. Sylvaner has two different main ways that it is written. You'll see in Germany generally S-I-L as far as Sylvaner. They also put the word Grüner in front of it. And then in Alsace, France, you see Sylvaner with an S-Y-L. And in other places that it's grown throughout Europe and even in the few places in the US, it's going to use one of those two spellings, either S-Y-L or S-I-L for Sylvaner. And as long as you really remember the name, it should come to you. The grape itself is a historic grape. I mean, truly old school lineage, with Savagnin being one of the parents, and Savagnin is actually one of the parents of also Sauvignon Blanc and Chenin Blanc. So really, old school, historic, well-known wines. And then the other parent being Österreichisch Weiss. And, we have our records show that Sylvaner came from Austria. Early on, then moved into Germany. First recorded area in Germany is in Franken. In 1659, there's actually a written record of it crossing over there. So this is an old school grape. And in the early 20th century, it was the most popular grape in all of Germany. I mean, most planted grape. And then we fast forward to current times, it's number 4. So as far as acreage, it falls behind Riesling, Müller-Thurgau, and also Grauburgunder, which is also known as Pinot Gris. You can't talk about Sylvaner without discussing Franken, Germany. And Franken, Germany is not one of the most well-known wine regions in Germany. It definitely is not up there with, Mosel or any of the other quintessential regions. Yet this is where we find the best versions of Sylvaner, not only in Germany, but arguably in the entire world. And so we want to go and explore this a little bit and talk about the soil, which is predominantly made of limestone. There's also some clay and a little bit of sandstone. The climate is continental, which means the average temperature in the hottest months compared to the coldest months, there's a large range, and that's the continentality. And really, this grape just works very well there because of the climate and because of the soils. It really just shines, the terroir comes through. As we've mentioned before, it's not really the most aromatic grape, and that's fine because you get that earthiness and that minerality that comes through from the limestone. You still have your normal peach and a little blossom and thyme and things like that come through, but here what they do very well is kind of just extracting a lot of it. It's more of a full-bodied wine, and it's a lot of fun. And even though this is where it does its best, it still is only regulated to a quarter of all the vineyard space in Franken. The most populated grape is actually Müller-Thurgau, but I'd go to this any day. And what's also really fun about Franken Sylvaners is generally they will be in this bottle, which is called a box beetle bottle. So a lot of fun if you want to bring it to a dinner party and you walk in with this and people are like, what in the world is he doing? Well, you have a very unique, high quality wine that works wonderful with different foods. And again, if you're looking for a great representation of Sylvaner, can't go wrong with Franken. I'm joined again by my lovely wife, Shenandoah, and here we're trying a wine from Franken, Germany. Now this is the Hans Wersching's 2015 Eifhofer Kronzberg Sylvaner. Sorry, just my German's awful. I'll have to look at the bottle.
Thanks, John. Wow, this is an amazing wine. I can tell already. I smell some apricot and mint notes coming in.
There's really a good petrol on this, and if you're familiar with German wines, oftentimes they take on a petrol flavor or at least aroma when they start to age, and this being in 2015, I think we're really getting that. And honestly, it's not off-putting, it's a wonderful thing to find. And then once that kind of flows away, I get some good stone fruit, like peach shows up.
Even beyond that, I get some tropical fruit, like some pineapple, fresh, delicious pineapple. At the same time, though, there's some tertiary flavors coming in with some ginger.
I'm getting like some hazelnut, nice nutty flavor, probably from, again, a little bit of the age and just taking on that tertiary flavor, as well as really some minerality. Like Flint comes up, and Franken is well known for their limestone soil, and I think that is something that is showing up here. Nice minerality.
There's some good acid on this wine too. I'd say a medium plus. I feel my mouth salivating, which is means it's gonna go great with food.
And body, I'm going to go with a medium plus here. I mean, the alcohol we have is 13.5, and really just the roundness in the mouth. I mean, it's a dry wine, but it's starting to take on really the little bit of the sweetness. Like you're getting that honey kind of things, and it just makes the mouth feel a little bit rounder. It's lovely. This wine is going to be able to keep going for years.
Wow, and the finish on this wine too. I mean, I got a good 30 plus seconds, maybe getting close to 35. Like it just lasts. You get to enjoy it for a long time, which is a way to tell that it's a pretty wonderful wine.
And this is the kind of wine where you really could show this off on its own, but also will play really well with foods. It has high acidity, as Shen said, so it'll cut through salad dressings if you wanted to use it in a place like that. And I could see it going with like a pear and blue cheese salad. Oh, that'd be just amazing. But also, because of the mouthfeel and the body, you can take on a little bit bigger dishes, as well as something like lobster or crab that you're eating with just a little bit of butter. This will go wonderful. So really, this is again shows how great Sylvaner is for food, even though it is very different than the other wine that we tried from Alsace, France.
Enjoyed it very much. Cheers.
Outside of Franken, Germany, the other location we would send you to find quality representations of Sylvaner is going to be Alsace, France. Now, Alsace, France, they spell Sylvaner with a Y, so it's the S-Y-L, as compared to the Germans with the S-I-L. And much like the Germans, their production of Sylvaner has diminished severely over the last couple decades. In 1969, Sylvaner accounted for 30% of all the grapes grown in Alsace, and in 2017, we're down to only 6%. So there's not a lot being produced. But with that being said, there's still some quality representations, especially one that we'll get into a little bit later when I talk about the Grand Crus. But first we'll go to soil types. Now, Alsace in general is very varied in soil types. And so unless you really know the producer, you're not going to know exactly what these soil types are. But I mean, there's clay, there's limestone, sandstone, those things. And then when it comes to climate, it's a pretty unique situation that Alsace has, because while the climate itself is continental, and what we discussed before, that means the average temperature in the hottest month compared to the average temperature in the coldest month, there's a very large disparity between those. What makes the climate there very unique is that it also is very dry. Alsace is right next to the Vosges Mountains, and the mountains create a rain shadow, which means there's not a lot of rain. And that actually works really well for the grape varietals there, because that means that they all get to fully ripen. And if you think about the other varietals, you have Riesling, Muscat, Pinot Gris, and Traminer, and those four are actually considered the four noble Alsatian grape varietals. Those four and Sylvaner all need some good sunlight. So that's why those grapes do really well there, and why Sylvaner has a good home. Now, even though it's diminished in its plantings, there is one area where it still shines very well, and there are technically 51 Grand Crus in Alsace. There's one for Sylvaner, and that is the Grand Cru of Zotenberg, which is in the commune of Mittelbergheim. I always have to look it up. I always butcher that. But if you were to seek out really the best, that's where you're going to be looking, or at least looking in that commune of, again, Mittelbergheim. But if you can find the Grand Cru of Zotenberg, awesome to look at. We recommend some other producers on the website if you go and check that out. But much like what I said about Franken, if you're interested in this grape, check out Alsace. They really do still make a great representation of it, even though they don't produce as much. But this is where you're going to find quality wines. And another fun fact, this bottle shape is for Alsace, and it's known as a flute. So another little fun fact that you can have for your dinner parties. Now I'm joined by my lovely wife Shenandoah, and we're going to be tasting a wine from Alsace, France. This is Albert Seltz's 2016 Sylvaner de Mettenbergheim.
There's definitely some honeysuckle on the nose. I get grapefruit as well.
Getting some pear and also some green apple.
In the mouth, I get some wet stones as well as grass.
Also some peach and orange blossom really showing up.
I would agree. For acid, I would go with a medium plus acid on this wine. I feel my side of my tongue salivating.
For the body, really what comes into play is the alcohol here. And this is a 13% alcoholic wine. And for white wine, that really is going to up the mouthfeel. And that playing off of the high acidity gives us like a medium mouth. I mean, it actually has a nice round consistency.
For the finish, I get about 20 to 22 seconds, which I think is a very good finish for this sort of wine that kind of goes with everything, that you can just enjoy with food, without food. I mean, there are definitely a lot of flavors coming through, and just, yeah, an overall very pleasant wine for the price.
Yeah, I mean, we got this for $18, and for $18 to have a wine that you could bring anywhere. If you want to go just hang out with friends and drink and know that everyone's going to kind of just enjoy something, it really works, as well as a really great food wine. I mean, this is going to work because of the acidity with a lot of different foods, and also that medium body is going to let it play with even some bigger things. So really a great food wine to have in your arsenal. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Sylvaner. We've taken you to Franken, Germany, and Alsace, France, and explained why we think this is a great varietal for you to know. Really a good bang for your buck, and it'll impress your wine friends who, you know, when you bring out this bottle of Sylvaner and be like, oh yeah, I know about Franken, Germany and Alsace, France. And it's also just a great food wine. And if you want to know a little bit more than what we got into today, please go to our website. It's teaquatavern.com. We have a full blog post on this where we get really, you know, a little bit more in depth on what the characteristics of the wines are and the locations, and we also recommend some producers. And if you like these types of videos, please subscribe to our channel down below. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please watch the next one up here. Thank you very much for joining us. We are Teaquat Tavern Hospitality.